Terry McLaurin, bet online, projected totals for this season. Want a little play, a little over under with you. Let's start with 72 and a half catches for Terry McLaurin. Over or under? Is
I think slightly over here. Slightly over on this one.
that it?
That's it.
You don't want to add any context?
No, I thought I was going to give you a chance to
Okay.
speak also.
I'll jump back in then. I think he goes over that as well. I think he catches right around 75 balls. He caught 77, 77, and 79 the last 3 years. If you go back the year before that, in year 2, he actually caught 87 balls. So he has been over this projected total in each of his last 4 seasons. The only time he wasn't was as a rookie. He missed a couple games that year, but even if he didn't, probably wouldn't have gotten to this projected total. But generally, when you can get a number that he's been over 4 times in a row, it's worth going on the plus side of that.
And this is a health question, right? Now, he's been healthy. It's been amazing.
Do you think it definitely is a health question?
What-
Or could it be they throw to him less because they have more guys to throw to?
That's possible. I just think the offense might be productive, or at least more than it's been a disaster
Meaning
the
they'll
last
run
handful
more
of years.
plays.
Yeah, just like you get first downs and there's just more to go around. Everyone gets a chance to eat. And the targets you get might be more productive targets. Whereas last year, I think he had a less than 50% success rate in terms of yards gained towards first down. Catch percentage was the lowest of his career. That's a quarterback issue. That's a scheme issue. That's a design issue. That game, he ran a lot of cardio. That's not going to happen with Cliff Kingsbury, I wouldn't think. So to me, if he's available for 17 weeks, and he has been for each of the last 4, I think it's 3 seasons, and the other, I think he missed a couple games, but that's remarkable. That doesn't happen all that often. So to me, we go, well, if he's healthy for 17 weeks, it's really rare that someone is able to do that. And he's been able to do it for 3 straight years. Stuff happens. That's my only kind of knock as to why he might not get to that mid-70.
Yeah. I still go over, though. I still think he's going to be on the plus side of the 72 and a half because I think they want to involve him. They know he's their alpha. They know he's a difference maker, and they know that good things happen when the ball's in his hands. And even though they have added weaponry, which is clear, I don't think they've added enough at receiver that he isn't going to be heavily featured. Or
Right.
he isn't going to be a predominant target. He's still going to get his, looking up his targets from the last few seasons, 132, 120, 130, 134, kind of very consistent average. You're looking at like targets per game. It's probably still going to be similar, honestly, because did Jahan Dotson do anything last year that makes you think, he's going to have a big year this year? I don't think so. Is Luke McCaffrey as a rookie right away learning the league going to take a bunch of looks away from McLaurin? Probably not. So if a couple looks go to Dotson that didn't last year because he's better, I believe that. A couple looks go to McCaffrey. A few looks go to Eckler. Maybe now you're dipping into the targets a little bit, but I don't think in some meaningful way. And to your point, you could cancel that out if you're better on offense, you're on the field more, and you're running more plays.
Yeah. Now, listen, I know they threw it a ton. Sam Howell was going to lead the league in attempts last year before getting benched, injuries, and otherwise. But I don't know. To me, success rate with some of these targets. Again, he had the lowest catch percentage of his career this past season, right? Which means you're not doing as much. You're just sort of throwing it to throw it, or a throwaway. Someone who the air mails it or puts it, where only the receiver can catch it and it gets broken up, or he's in tight coverage or something like that. You just think it's going to be better scheme-wise, better design-wise. So even if he's at 120 targets, he had his career high when he was at 120 targets the year before, almost 1,200 yards and around 5 touchdowns with a better percentage in every regard, right? So more effective when you're actually going to him. I think that's in the cards for this year.
Yardage for Terry McLaurin this season via Bet Online, 925 and a half. So to set the table here, this would be his worst season since he was a rookie. But again, he missed the final 2 games that year. And at 925 and a half, he would be 100 yards or so below his average over the last couple of years, probably 150 yards below his career average. He would basically replicate what he did in his first year ever, his least productive season at 925 and a half.
I got him right around that 74 catch at around 13 yards per, right? A little over 12, which is better than last year. He's been around that 13 and a half yard range for most of it. I don't think he's the deep threat that he maybe was sort of forced into early on in his career. I'm not saying he's lost a step, but that's not really what his game is to me. So that's right around that total. So I'm going to say over, but not by a lot.
Most years, he's been in the 14 to 16 yard per catch range. His rookie year, 16 per. 2 seasons ago, 15 and a half per. So if you have him around 75 catches, sounds like both of us do, and I've got him in the low 14 yards per catch, that gets you to 1,050
Yeah, that's a
yards,
thousand and change.
which is a good bit past 925. But here is where I'd use your caveat of injury. I think the catches getting to the low to mid 70s easier if he misses a game or two, honestly, than the yards maybe. Now, the big question I think we need to answer is how much of last year's regression from a yards per catch standpoint had to do with his early season injury. He had like some kind of foot thing or
Yeah.
turf toe or whatever that was, if you remember. Um, I think that played into him losing some of the explosiveness, some of the post catch ability. Who are we talking to recently? Maybe it was Quinn at the podium that I'm thinking of. But Dan Quinn talked about how Terry McLaurin's work on that they gave him in a meeting, the thing you got to get better at, was something he already said he wanted to work on in his exit interview, which is being better at turning catches into more yards and just being more lethal after the reception. Well, last year he just didn't have that club in the bag. And I think it's because he was never quite 100% healthy after he came back early.
Especially early season. 2 catches, 31 yards week 1, 5 for 54 week 2, 6 for 41 in week 3, despite, a pretty good chunk of targets going his way. That just doesn't sound like an explosive guy at that point.
Totally. But
Yeah,
explosiveness aside, also, that doesn't even tell you about yards per after the catch.
right.
And that's the thing I'm saying he's working on. But that's where your yards per reception might come from.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where I think that 12 and a half gets back closer. Maybe it's not 15 and a half like it was the year before, but into the 13, 14 range, which is just normal for a X wide receiver like he's going to play in this offense. So then we're both going over on 72 and a half, both going over on 925 and a half for Terry.
Yes.
How about 4.5 touchdowns? What's funny is that sounds low. He's never been a high volume touchdown guy. For all the targets, averaging around 130 for his career, basically it's 4 or 5 every season.
Yeah, 4, 5, 5, 4. Those are his touchdown totals.
His rookie year, when he caught more balls deep than he ever has since, he had 7 touchdowns. But the last 4 years, you're right. It's basically 4 to 5 per season.
So I've got under. Just, that's a coin toss to me, whether it's 4 or 5. If he gets tackled at the 1, your bet's either good or not. But more often than not, he's not a high volume touchdown guy.
Is there any chance he's super explosive again and it's 6, 7 touchdowns? Because remember the case Keenum to Terry McLaurin week 1 of his rookie year, like 75-yard touchdown. They start using him that way. I don't think he's lost a step. I mean, the guy's still pretty young. He's 28 years old. He'll be 29 this season. I would imagine he's still got the same twitch, wiggle, quickness, speed that he had coming out of Ohio State. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I just don't think he's a that like Xavier Worthy type wideout. I think his game is different. To me, I think of him in that 25, like that 10 to 25 yard range, right? Just working as a clinician, sort of in the middle part of the field, sidelines, toe tapping, catching in traffic. I don't see him as that deep burner. You get a matchup, you could take advantage of it. He'll go get it because he's tough as nails. But I don't know. I just don't, I feel like if you look at his longer touchdowns, it's like a YOLO ball from Heineke, where he's coming back to it, like swimming over 2 different people, getting his clock clean because he had to, jump up in traffic. It doesn't feel like you're hitting him deep down the field, 50, 60, 70 yards. But maybe I'm wrong.
I'll go over and say he catches 5 or 6 touchdowns this year and that they score some more points on offense. Maybe.
It'd be nice.
Would be very, very cool. If somebody else steps forward and is a big time playmaker in the passing game, and it cuts into some of his dominance in terms of the percentage of the targets, catches, yards, who would be your bet on who that is?
Eckler. You got a rookie quarterback, maybe like, you're trying to be risk averse at least early on and you put a couple things in the bank deposit wise where it's like, hey, take something safe, take something easy, take the first available. Let's not get us in bad down in distance. Let's get a few completions here and there. So, you could see a 65 catch season, 70 catches for Austin Eckler, especially just helping out that young quarterback.
Eckler, I think, is going to catch the most balls of anybody not named McLaurin. I could see him in that McKissick role, and maybe that means he has the most yards as well. So that definitely would take some of the work away. But I'll just continue to roll with Jahan Dotson. I'm not going to get as excited for him as I did last year, probably ever again. My expectations have scaled way, way, way back. But I'm not ready to throw dirt on him yet either. I'm not ready to believe that he's cooked or it's over. I think Jahan Dotson could still have a breakthrough season. Remember, even though the yards and the efficiency and some of the metrics last year, and analytically speaking, I mean, it was a really, really brutal year when you stack him up against a bunch of the wide receivers.
Mhm.
But I think that he went from 35 catches to 49, a leap of almost 15 catches. He was on the field obviously more last season. If he does that again, he's up to 65 catches and maybe it's 70, 100 yards. Like as a number two in an offense that's not elite, that's not terrible. And I could definitely see him doing that, like 65 for 700. And if he has that production, unless they're running a lot more plays,
Mhm.
that would affect McLaurin for sure.
I'd be thrilled if I got those results. I don't see them. I mean, to me, the thing I was most wrong about is what his game was. I thought this guy can do anything. He can be an outside guy, inside guy. I now think he's a slot guy that's masquerading as an outside receiver. And it looks like he's going to do that again, just given their personnel. Last year, it was like you already got that in Curtis Samuel, probably a better version, guy operating middle of the field, slot, short routes, out of the backfield here and there, doing this, that, and the other. And they had Dotson on the outside, and it was just a square peg round hole. Not even a square peg, a trapezoid peg on a board that doesn't fit. I just don't see it. So I think they got other options.
Run that one by me again. Trapezoid peg.
A trapezoid peg on a board that doesn't exist.
Okay.
Instead of square peg round hole. It's like whatever's beyond that.
Past that.
Yeah, it's
worse.
Next level.